Good morning. Let's try that again. Good morning. Good morning. Yes, absolutely. Welcome to Unity of Charlotte. If you're here in the sanctuary, we welcome you here in person. If you're at home or on the road on Zoom, we've got 3 people so far, and we expect more to join us in a couple minutes as we get started here. We welcome you as well. And you may be watching this on YouTube, and we welcome you whenever you're watching this, in the middle of the night, in the next week, the next month. We welcome you as well. I do want to shout out to the folks at Zoom again. Type in something into that chat room. How about, what is it that you like about the month of April? Let us know, and we will report back a little bit later on as well. My name is Reverend Jim Ernst, and I am co-minister here along with Reverend Lisa Herklotz. And let's go ahead and move into our mission statement. So, with me and out loud, Unity of Charlotte is the place where we nurture a deep and mature experience of God through the practice of unity principles. Simply put, we are here to love, grow, and serve. Absolutely. Love, grow, and serve as well. Is there anyone who is here for the first time this Sunday? And everyone looks familiar in the seats here. I can't see if you're brand new at home. I'm getting a shake of the head. Probably everyone has already been here once before. But we do want to let you know that to find out what's going on at Unity of Charlotte, we do have our website, unityofcharlotte.org. Check that out. We have, and from that website, you can sign up for our newsletter. That comes out weekly on Friday afternoons. We have our Facebook post. We have YouTube and all of the previous services there. Please subscribe to that YouTube channel, and special things and miracles will happen on YouTube for us, as well as our physical bulletin board down the hall here. So when you're here in person, you can always check out that bulletin board. It has things that we don't have time to announce from the pulpit here. We take this moment to move within. I invite you to close your eyes if that feels right, to gently shift from that thinking part to the feeling part. We notice as we move into that heart space and allow that to expand in this moment of deep awareness. We bring that awareness into this time, and we open ourselves up. We open ourselves up to the reality that all of our reality is beyond that of humanity. That we, as we have moved from mind to heart, we recognize that we are divine. And you can say to yourself that I am divine as well. I rise into realization that every aspect of my being, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, is divine. And I celebrate that today. And I celebrate that every day into my future. We acknowledge and celebrate the idea of Earth Month today, and that idea that the divine is and shows up as nature in our lives. And we become aware once again of our place within that oneness within this universe, as part of that nature, as part of that oneness, as part of the greater universe and divinity. We are an integral part of this beautiful creation that we call home, that we call earth, that we call nature. And with that, we are so glad for this awareness, for these gifts in our lives, and we celebrate it and we say, so it is. Amen. Now is the time in our service ask for, or we know that those folks in our lives that are in need of prayer, And it may be a person, it may be a situation in our lives. This is the chance we get to say those names out loud. So I invite you to say them out loud now. Hannah, and Kurt, and Darlene. We hold these people, we hold these situations in our hearts. We bless them knowing that the divine is working within these situations as we speak, and all is well. Know as well that we have a prayer team. Well, we announced that the prayer team will be meeting today. Oh, let's move into our prayer of oneness first. So please say with me out loud. There is one presence and one power in my life and universe. God the good, omnipotence. And again, we recognize our prayer team, and we're so grateful for that prayer team. And as congregants, we have the opportunity to submit those prayer requests to that prayer team. We have a prayer box out in the hallway where you can fill out a form, put that in the slot in the box. That will make its way to the prayer team. They receive an email throughout the week, and and they pray for those situations, those people for 30 days. That group of prayers then moves to the village and Silent Unity, and those are prayed over for an additional 30 days. So lots of prayer. We have, again, like I said, that prayer box. There's an online form on our website as well. You can fill that in online, and that same thing, it makes its way through the miracle of technology, through email, and to our prayer team lead. So that's fantastic. And you can always call Silent Unity directly yourself, and that will, or they have an app on your phone, on your smartphone. At this time, I would like to invite up Paulette as she reads to us our daily word.
Spiritual living is my path to freedom. Looking back over the years, I remember the ways I have felt less than free. Maybe I felt limited because of my background or personal history, my education or career, or because of things others believed about me. Without even realizing, I may have taken a limited view of myself and what was possible for my life. But discovering the truth of myself as a spiritual being, a beloved child of God, has healed my heart and freed my soul. My life circumstances are only part of my story. I am so much more than the sum total of my experiences. My freedom lies in God and in my understanding of myself as divine. As I grow in confidence, realizing I can change my life through the power of my thoughts, I grow more free. I shall walk at liberty, for I have sought out precepts. And that is Psalm 119, verse 45. Thank you.
All right, I have a question for you. Who knows when the first Earth Day was celebrated in the U.S.? What year? Yes, 70. 70, correct. How many people celebrated and participated in Earth Day events that day? I was there. Fred was there. He's still here. How many people do you think total celebrated that first Earth Day? Just a guess. How many? 100? It's a start. 20 million people. 20 million. I was like, wow. 20 million people celebrated. So this is Earth Month, April. We've spent most of this month in Easter and the celebration of walking that transformative path of Jesus' story. But we have one more weekend left in April, and we're going to focus now on how the divine shows itself through our natural world and how that teaches us to grow through our own rebirth. I'm going to start with a little sound. So I'm going to invite you to sit back quietly. If you want to close your eyes gently, you're welcome to do that, or you can focus on this beautiful picture of nature, but we're going to just listen. So relax, open your heart, open your ears. All right. How was that? How was that? I am totally amazed every time I pause long enough to just sit and listen to nature, how much my energy shifts. And this is part of the miracle of what we focus on in April as Earth Month, because we want to really begin to tune in. Our culture for many years has moved further and further away from a connection to nature to separating from it. And without that connection, we've created some practices and some products and some ways of living that are not in alignment. And it not only affects the planet, but it affects us. So today we're going to look a little bit more at the divinity we can understand more deeply through experiencing and connecting to nature. There was a movie that came out probably in the 90s. It was called Phenomenon with John Travolta. Anybody remember that? A couple people do. There was a scene in there that I remember so clearly to this day, because he was having an experience where something was happening in his mind where his neural pathways were just growing exponentially. And he was able to learn languages by flipping through a book. He was able to create experimental new products that nobody had even thought about. Like, his brain was just going. It was just firing so fast that it was creating a lot of anxiety and stress because he couldn't rest. He couldn't find rest. And so one day he's outside and he's just about to the point of breaking down with this level of stress when suddenly he looks up and he sees the wind moving across the tops of the trees. And in that moment, he just stops and he just watches and begins to experience the wind moving through the leaves of the tree. And he finds himself calm and centered once again. And I have often done that practice. When I start to feel anxious, I will look up at the trees and just watch the wind blowing through the leaves. So what is it about that works? Like, why would that even be why would it work that way so well? It's because nature has an incredibly beautiful way of reflecting our divine interconnectedness. It reflects our oneness. And it also reflects the divine flow of life that's unimpeded by fear or anxiety or stress or fear of lack. And when we tune in to that, we remember to align ourselves. It's also, since we're celebrating growth through rebirth this month, it is an incredible teacher of how we renew through rebirth continually. Because nature is the perfect example of a continuing rebirth letting go and being reborn, letting go and being reborn. We see that in the seasons. That's the most natural way we see it. But even through phenomena such as fires that may wipe out a forest, it often does that in nature to clear away what has become overgrown and is stifling life. That fire clears away, and even though it looks very devastating, within a year there is so much new growth, it's like the fire almost never happened. Fires, floods, we've even discovered through some environmental actions where they've stopped the fishing in a certain area because it had almost totally depleted the fish in the area. And when they stopped all the fishing, that area renewed itself like within a year. Like it was like this phenomenal recovery. The earth has a phenomenal ability to recover. The coral reefs, once we clear it out and allow the coral reefs to grow, a dead coral reef can revive itself in an amazing amount of time. So earth and nature reflect to us a power that we have within ourselves. And the theme for this month, this year's Earth Month, is Our Power, Our Planet. So that's a reminder to me that we are powerful co-creators with God. God is the source. God, the word we use, God, is to mean the powerful creative source of all life. Everything springs from this single power of life. And we are co-creators with that life. Made in the image and likeness, we have the power of creation, and we are here to co-create in alignment with those divine principles. So how do we use this power? That's the question. Do we use this creative power for a self-centered control for personal gain? Certainly has been a reflection within our world. Or do we use it to rebirth ourselves back into divine flow? Which is what our spiritual journey is all about, returning to divine flow. Now, I found two scriptures that I don't think I have ever read before. If I did, I had forgotten them. And I was really excited to find them because they were very interesting, and I'm going to share them with you as we discover how nature speaks to us of the divine. Now, the first one comes from an interesting book in the Bible, Job. Do some of you know the story of Job? Yeah. Well, it's okay if you don't. We're not going to go through the whole story. It's a long story. It's rich with lessons and teachings. But just to give you kind of a general idea, Job was this is in the Hebrew Bible, or what we call the Old Testament. So this is thousands of years ago. And Job is a very pious and religious man. And he lives his life according to the laws. And he's known for how pious and religious he is. And he does everything right. But his focus on right is all on the outer acts of being a religious person, the outer acts of it. So he still believes there is evil, and he fears evil. And because of this fear, what does he then manifest in his life? A lot of challenging circumstances. So if you know the Job story, there's a lot of challenging circumstances. We won't even go into all of them. But throughout, he calls on God. He calls on God. He continues to seek, having faith that God is the true source of all, and that God will get him through this. So in one of the chapters, or one of the verses, he has a couple of friends who've come over, and they're trying to help him by giving him advice, but all their advice is still of an earthly nature. And at one point, he has a friend, he's responding to a friend who's telling him that we can't know of God's divine nature. We can't know that as man. And to this he responds, But ask the animals and they will teach you. Or the birds in the sky and they will tell you. Or speak to the earth and it will teach you. Or let the fish in the sea inform you. For which of all these do not know that the land of the Lord, sorry, let me read that again. Which of all these does not know that the hand of the Lord has done this? He's literally saying, all we have to do is look around at the world that was created to see the magnificence and the divine order of God. God may not be visible, but the works of that power are. And we can know that. It's right in front of us. So I never knew this was in Job. Now, Job suffered until he finally heard the voice of the Holy Spirit. Something within him that knew the truth of him and the nature of God finally came forth within him. And he had a transformative moment. He was reborn. I never thought of Job as a rebirth experience, but he was reborn in an expanded conscious awareness that God lives within. And that doing religious acts outside of ourselves does not bring the freedom, the liberation, and the true flow of love until it comes from within, until our hearts and minds have been transformed. And so that's the great story of Job. And somewhere in the middle of it, he turned to nature to say, to know God, just look at this world. So metaphysically, we would look at the story of Job, and it's about the transition of the human from a personal, formal sense of righteousness and religiousness to a true interchange of heart and the realization of our true Christ nature. And then that gets reflected out in our world. Now, we move to a few hundred years ahead, maybe a few thousand years, to the New Testament, yeah. The New Testament, we have a letter written from Paul to the church in Rome, and he's addressing the idea of probably had some people acting out. They're usually why his letters were written. He was usually writing to the churches to address some of the problems or challenges they were having. And he begins to try to describe unrighteousness is really just when we suppress the truth within us, when we suppress the knowledge of the divinity within us. And he writes to them here, for since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, meaning God's eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made, so that people are without excuse. So basically he's saying, no, we don't have an excuse to not know God, to not know our divine source. Even though it is invisible to these human eyes, a creator is known by its creation. And when we look at the world around us, what we see is the magnificence and complexity and diversity and order of nature. There was an excerpt I pulled out of an article that was written by someone named Britt Mooney, who is a contributing writer to this Bible website. And she said, nature testifies to God's eternal power and divine nature. Through the beauty, complexity, and order of creation, we witness tangible evidence of God's invisible qualities. Mountains, oceans, forests, and the vast array of living creatures all reflect God's creativity, wisdom, and sustenance. By observing and experiencing nature, we gain a deeper understanding of the Creator. So I go back to that experience of pausing and letting my thoughts go for a moment and just watching the wind through the trees. And how impactful that can be, listening to the birds sing, listening to the sounds of nature, feeling the ground beneath our feet, connecting to our natural environment, has proven over and over again to work in a way that allows us to easily realign with our own divine life and flow. Because these qualities that are being reflected in nature, these qualities of God, they are our inherent qualities too. For we are made in the image and likeness. We live and have been gifted the qualities of the Creator, which is to create from divine, infinite potential. Now, one of my favorite quotes from Myrtle Fillmore, which I know you may have seen before because I use it often. Nature is surely the glorified face of God. See the beauty about you and see the manifestation of the infinite mind. So Myrtle Fillmore, being co-founder of our Unity movement, she said she was often made fun of and was called Nature Girl when she was a child because she spent a lot of time in nature and she felt a very deep connection to it. So she often speaks about connecting to the divine through nature. So, what does all this tell us? What does all this mean to us today? We know we are constantly being called back to our truth. We're constantly being called back to our truth whenever we veer off in our minds and forget our own divine nature. There's always a call, a pull to come back and realign. And nature is one of the ways that happens. Nature is always reminding us of what divinity is available to us in this world. It informs us, it engages us, and it calls us to be reborn, to reawaken in each and every moment. To live from those invisible God qualities that are inherent in our own hearts and souls. Now, here's the interesting thing. When we find this in nature, we will also find it in ourselves and in others. Just as we find it in others and in ourselves, we will see it in nature. So that's the beauty of the truth. And it's good to remember that it is love that is the great power and intelligence that informs all life. It begins in the invisible ethers of the mind, and it's made manifest in form in a magnificent and infinitely diverse and integrated whole, of which we are a part. Of which we are a part. So knowing this and living this, that's really what we mean when we say saving the planet. Saving the planet is really about our own rebirth and renewal and realignment to the spiritual qualities that are our truth and are reflected in nature. And when we have that rebirth, that renewal, that realignment to this divine flow of life, how would we act? What decisions might we make? How are we going to live our lives? How are we going to treat each other? How are we going to treat ourselves, treat others, and treat the planet? So I would encourage you to spend some time in nature. Find the beauty that's reflected there and find it within yourself. You are loved beyond measure. And you are a whole part of this incredible creation we call Earth and human life. It is temporary. It is not our whole truth. We are spiritual, eternal beings. But in this moment, we get to experience all this. And when we do it in love, then we're fulfilling our purpose. So I have one last quote from Emily Cady. Emily Cady is a foundational teacher as part of the Unity movement. And she wrote this: "The changes that come about through conscious oneness with God reach into our approaches to the world in general. They reach into our approach. In other words, when we come into a conscious awareness of our oneness with our creative source, it will automatically inform how we approach everything in the world. We feel a oneness with nature, with everything we use or work with in the outer world, and we feel oneness with all people. So when we lift our consciousness into the awareness of our oneness with Source, God, Divine Mind, Spirit, we automatically then know we are innately connected to each and every living being. And that's going to inform every decision we make, how we speak, how we behave, and what choices we make in our lives. So with that, I have an invitation. This week, today, this week, this next month, or for as long as you want to practice it, I am inviting you to connect, to practice, and to take action. Connect by pausing and breathing and connecting to nature as deeply as you can. And as I put on there, yes, stop and smell the roses. Stop and smell the roses. Stop and see the wind moving through the trees. Listen to the birds, the cows mooing. Whatever way you can connect to nature, you may have a little house plant. You can sit with your little house plant and just appreciate it. Any way that you can connect to the natural world. And then practice. Practice coming. We're going to move to a song now that I just want to take a moment to introduce. This is by Ricky Byers. It's a chant. It is a chant of Om Shanti. These are two Sanskrit words. Sanskrit is one of the most ancient languages, and often these syllables are used because of the energy they carry, a very primordial energy of the beginnings of creation and life. So Om is the word of God, the beginning of all creation, the foundation of all life. Om. Shanti simply means peace, inner peace. And so this is an invocation of peace that we're going to be chanting. So I invite you to sing along as we join Ricky Byers.
Let there be peace in my mind. Let there be peace in the earth.
At this point, I invite Fred to come and get us started in our peace song. So please stand if you are able, and I will move over to the organ.
Now there's peace on earth, and it has begun with me. Now there is peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. God as Creator, united all are we. Now we walk with each other in perfect harmony. Peace has begun with me, and this is the moment now. With every step I take, this is my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Now there is peace on earth, and it has begun with me.